And we allow this is Travis from Trade with Travis, Carter Kyle Capital, Expert Advisor Reviews on YouTube. Hope everybody's doing very well. This is trading on Friday, Trade with Travis, episode 318. I have February 16th, 2024, with 3 minutes away from being able to see what the news is going to end up being. So, I mean, what the how the indices is going to end up working. So I want to make sure I end up talking about those very quickly. But let's go ahead and get to the disclaimer, and then after that, we'll go through everything else. I'm not a CTA. I'm not going to end up telling you whether to buy or to sell. What I'm going to do is teach you education, and from that education, you can be able to make your own informed decision. Now, understand that trading involves risk. It involves risk of being able to make money. Also involves risk of being able to lose money. So please keep that in mind. And understand that past performance is not indicative of future results, which means that if you end up making money yesterday, it's not promised that you can end up making money today. With that being said, what we're going to end up doing, we're just going to go ahead and jump right into it. We're going to take a look at what's happening with the economic calendar, and then after that, we'll jump into how everything else is going to play out. We end up having PPI. They end up coming out a little bit earlier today with the United States dollar actually end up making a little bit of money, or actually end up pushing the United States dollar to be a little bit stronger when it came down to certain movements. And we can see how that's going to end up being affected in a few minutes. And then after that, in the next 32 minutes, we're going to end up having Michigan consumer sentiment index to end up being out. Want to make sure that you end up taking a look at that as well. That is pretty much it for the overall news for today. If we go through and we end up taking a look at what's going on with US30, we end up talking about this sale that I wanted to be able to do, kind of waiting for the market to be able to push right back up here to the point where it actually ended up dropping at before. Turned past resistance into a future support. Since then, the market has already done fell down a little bit. The question is now, since we already done made the profit off of 38,650, what are we looking to be able to do for seeing how this market is going to end up U-turning? In 2 minutes, the market is going to end up or the market is going to end up opening up. I'm going to put a counter trend line break right here. Looking at the stochastic, we're not necessarily in the greatest area to be able to look at being able to get into a trade if the market hits the downside. But I am going to end up paying attention to that a little bit more. Let's take a look at this from a daily perspective. Daily is actually in the buy zone. Jeez, it really ended up eating that move up. Hold on. Maybe I need to change my setup. Let's see. We take a look at this from a weekly perspective. What the market ended up doing was it ended up breaking out of this overall. It ended up breaking out a large consolidation. Then after that, pushing up. We had a Fibonacci that we end up taking a look at where the market ended up. Let me see if I can zoom this out so everybody can be able to see it. There we go. This is a part of a longer swing that's been happening since the early portion of 2023, and the D extension off of this move was right at 38,550, I believe, and because of that, or 38,850. And because of that, my thought process was that we're going to end up getting some retracement, and we end up getting that for a day. We end up having sharp movements to the downside, and since then, the market has retraced and almost been able to break out of that position. So, taking a look at it from a 2 hour perspective, the question would be, how is this market going to end up reacting? 9:30 right now, we can see that the candlesticks is starting to show a little bit more of a bullish push outside of this triangle that was being formed right here. Let's see if we can zoom into the 15-minute and kind of give us a little bit more information. But initially, off of this, we was talking about we wanted to be able to look at selling. The market broke out to the downside. That's that same area that we was looking at earlier. Okay, so market broke to the downside. Then after that, retested. Currently, right now, this is a part of that retest. 15-minute is breaking to the downside. See how patient we can be on this. Want to see how this market ends up reacting to this counter trend line break. If it ends up breaking, then that means that we have a good chance of being able to go. But I'm kind of a little worried about how much this thing has already done fell down at this point. Should have caught it right at the retest. Didn't jump in on it right at that point. Want to see how this market kind of reacts. I'm going to put an alert right here. If it does break this counter trend line break, then I would look at being able to take the trade from wherever it ends up breaking. Let's say from right here all the way down to the second level that we were looking at being able to get out at 35,570. with the stop loss being above where the market actually ended up making its break. So you're talking about 63, 63, 64 points going out to 122. It's a good 1 to 2 risk reward ratio. Actually, now we're going to adjust a little bit. We're going to move the stop loss down. Okay, since we know this is the lowest point where the market actually ended up doing that, then my stop loss will have to go somewhere above the initial swing. But that's the idea. I'm gonna end up making an alarm on this counter trend line break. Once it ends up breaking to the downside and closing below it, then that's when I consider being able to make that move. Obviously, looking at it from a 5-minute standpoint makes you want to jump in a little bit faster. But I'm going to see how this market kind of reacts and see where it's going to end up going. I would like better value, but I do like what I say. Okay, let's go NAS100. NAS100, we've done pretty good this week. All right. For the people that have not seen this before, but just kind of going through it, just kind of breaking it down a little bit. Market ended up going into its fourth different Fibonacci swing. From here, the current swing that we're on, the market on retrace back to 16,277. That was back in the early portion of January. From there, because market didn't retrace enough, what I mean by enough, this kind of being able to have a healthy move is basically retracing down to the 382 or going 38% of its overall move. Since then, what's happened is that the market has pushed up. Now, typically, what ends up happening if you have weak retracement, right around the 127 position on the extension, you'll start to see some sellers get into the market looking at being able to push this to the downside. It's called an 80-20 rule. Something that I ended up learning when I was going through and kind of getting trying to learn through all my mentorship and everything else, and it kind of remained to be true. Typically, what ends up happening is 80% of the time the market will end up having a retracement from the 127. It may end up going back down to the B based off of that overall movement. Now, what I do like about what I'm seeing is this. We end up having a breakout earlier this week, and we did not jump in it at that particular point. Or yes, we did. But okay, I got to take a look at my old trades. Oh, yeah, we did. We ended up catching a buy. But from this breakout, typically when you end up having a breakout, you end up having a retest. The retest end up being right here, has been currently between what's happening right now. You end up having a counter trend line break, push up. Now we finally end up having a breakdown to the downside. From here, now this gives us an option to be able to sell it to the downside and be able to have a little bit more confidence about what's going on. Now I end up saying sell on US30, and I end up saying sell on this as well. So that makes me feel a little bit more confident about what I was looking at. And from here, once again, trying to get back to 17,660, 17,670. I think it's a very good position to be able to take a look at. If you're going to end up placing our stop loss above the swing high, they end up being right around 115 points to be able to give up as your risk. Your reward will end up being 180 points. From there, I'm interested in it. I'm very much so interested in it. Let me see what that looks like from a risk reward standpoint. Plugging it into my calculator. If I like it, then I'll probably end up taking it. Then that means I need to hurry up and get my eyes back on US30 as well. Give me 1 second. Let's see. Symbols. Okay. All right. Cool. So before I end up placing in my buy, I need to see this. I need to see this close below. I don't like this. I don't like this candlestick that ended up happening right here, where the buyers have started to push this back up. That means that we take a look at this trend line. The market is kind of respecting this now, and if that's the case, then we need to be a little bit more patient. Um, Here is the bottom of the point right there. Second point that touches is right there. Let's see. I'm gonna wait a little bit. Let me see what's going on with that one. Um, but if you look at it, that's beautiful. We have this going on right now. Which is a which is a rising wedge. And if that ends up happening, then essentially a rising wedge is kind of like riding in a roller coaster. You end up seeing the market keep on going up, tick, 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 and then after that fall. And then um, you typically want to catch it at the highest point or be able to catch it at the highest pivot, give yourself a little bit more room. But once it does fall, typically you end up having a big drop, and then after that, a retracement and a retest of the move to be able to catch it in and be able to get into that move. So I like what I see, but it gives me a little bit more time to just kind of be patient, kind of take a look at it. We see that stock caps is in the buy zone. So even if we try to look at being able to sell right now, we may end up getting, um, may end up having other people that are just trying to be able to buy and try to see if they can get a little bit more value because they believe this channel is going to keep on rising. We end up pushing us out. So I'm going to wait. I'm going to wait real quick. I'm not going to end up buying it nowhere in the middle of this candlestick. And once again, the market hasn't closed on it yet. All right, so that gives us a little bit of time to take a look at the big three. Let's go ahead and go through the big three. The big three is the United States dollar index. We end up taking a look at oil, take a look at gold. The reason why we take a look at those is because it allows us to be able to understand what's happening with the market over time. And by taking a look at these, we can be able to understand about what's happening with all of the other markets very quickly as well. So, U.S. dollar index, what we were looking for was we end up having this triangle that ended up happening right here. We look for the breakout. We wanted to be able to catch it as a retest, and then after that, be able to buy it. End up catching a buy on this one yesterday, late, late in the nighttime. Based off of this, took a look at it from a 2 hour perspective. We end up saying, remember, we wanted to see if this market was going to end up retesting towards the backside of this triangle right here. And what ended up happening was that the market ended up pushing down, ended up getting this candlestick right here on 13. What a low was at 1311 or 13,011. And then after that, ended up catching it right here at the top of this candlestick. Now, my problem was that the market ended up U-turning and ended up giving me a little bit of a scare with the stop loss, but it ends up pushing up and completing right here. Now, there's another opportunity that's happening right now for us being able to get in because we have a true counter trend line break. And because we have a true counter trend line, break, even though it ended up hitting profit already, we have a secondary level that you can be able to go after. Secondary level was right around 13,130, I believe. Yes, 13,130 will be the next position where I will look at being able to go. Now, the only difference is your risk at this particular point now has changed. It will end up being from here. Let's say if we end up taking an entry right now, it'll be from there to there. And we have to move this back some now. I like what I see though. Maybe we could be a little bit more patient because that is truly the breakout. Typically, once again, once you end up having a breakout, there will end up being a retest. Just pay attention to when that retest ends up happening. I believe it's going to end up, you may end up getting another chance off the backside to be able to see if you can be able to buy it back up. But currently, right now, you end up having, you had the breakout of the first triangle. Market ended up giving us a retest of that overall move. And then after that, now you have the movement to the upside. This is giving us more signs that the market will continue to keep on going bullish, but it does need to break past 13,040 before being able to have any validation of being able to say that it's truly ready to go or it will go. Any questions on this one? United States dollar index, taking a look at it's bullish, which means that we take a look at what's happening with Euro, United States dollar, and everything else like that. We'll probably end up seeing that the market has been moving to the downside off of those pairs, showing United States dollar strength. Let's take a look at oil. Oil is just us checking about what's happening. We're still not trading it yet. It's not ready to be able to do anything. Take a look at it from a daily perspective. We can see that oil is in the middle of consolidation between $80 and 60. Let's see, between $80 and $68. Once the market ends up breaking out of this to the upside or to the downside, then after that, I'll look at being able to get in off a trade off of this one. But currently, right now, not necessarily interested in being able to jump in. It's just in the middle of nowhere at this particular point. We can see the stochastics in the sell zone. Even if I wanted to be able to buy, my conscience wouldn't tell me to do so. So oil, done with that. Let's take a look at gold. Gold, we end up saying that we want to be able to look at being able to sell because we end up having a triangle that end up breaking to the downside. But we knew that there had to be a little bit of a retracement for this movement to be for this to be validated, kind of like what ended up happening based off of, I believe that was NAS100 that we were looking at a little bit earlier. So we had a breakout. Looking at the retest, currently right now the market's still in the buy zone. There's still no reason to be able to look at jumping into this trade at this particular point. Remember, when the market is completely in the buy zone, you're talking about 7 to 11 candlesticks of overall movement that ends up taking it into being oversold. Now, because this is consolidation or breaking out of consolidation, sometimes the stochastic doesn't matter, but we end up going from there. What about pound United States dollar? We'll take a look at that next, and kind of go from there. So currently, right now, I'm going to end up waiting. I'm looking for a retest off of gold. I want to see it basically be able to at least get back up to 2015. And then from 2015, then after that, we can look at the retest from there. The stochastic is kind of worrying me a little bit, but we can kind of go from there. Take a look at pound United States dollar. Pound United States dollar. So I'm doing this two separate ways. One, my automation systems are looking at mean reversion. So I'm looking for a U-turn based off of where the market is kind of. Oh shoot! Let me see if I can do this real quick. Everybody, give me one quick second. I'm gonna go turn off my camera real quick, or turn off my screen real quick. Okay, are we good now? Can everybody see my screen? I want to make sure I'm good. Can everybody see my screen now? Okay, so GU was inside of a consolidation between 128 and at the bottom of this level looks like 126.20, somewhere around there. Since then, market ended up breaking out, having a strong retest, and then having a counter trend line break to the downside. If we're just going based off of this Fibonacci's, I would say I'm looking at being able to sell and remaining to be in a sale until 123.60. Currently, right now, if we take a look at that for risk versus reward, that will end up being 204 pips. If you end up placing your stop loss above the high of this candlestick right here, I'm talking about risking 130. So 120 to right around 120 to be able to make 206. If you want to be a little bit more aggressive, you can place it above this one, which will end up being 100 for 200, which makes a little bit more sense when it comes down to that as well. I do like what I see. I want to see if it's time to actually be able to get in, though. We end up having, obviously, we end up having PPI news end up coming out, end up being strong for the United States dollar. That's where you end up having this breakout to the downside earlier this morning. From that breakout, the market has slowly been U-turning again and retesting this overall movement. What I do expect is that at some point today or tomorrow, depending on how volatile the market is going to end up being, it's going to end up making some type of movement right here. And this is the area that I want to be able to pay attention to. If it retests inside of this, if it retests and then after that breaks to the downside finally, then after that, I will be validated in the sale that I want to be able to take. Currently, right now, if it doesn't do that, let's say if it goes and it kind of keeps on moving, if you end up seeing any type of U-turn right around this area as well, right around some of those lows, without being able to break above that high, um, high of that candlestick right there, then I will feel pretty comfortable being able to sell. But I'm gonna end up just kind of waiting for that one. So to answer your question, I am interested in being able to sell. I'm not interested in being able to sell right now. I want to be able to give it a little bit more room to where it can be, so buyers can be able to buy back up and give me a better price to be able to get in for the sale. Let's see. Took a look at Euro United States dollar. Let's take a look at Australian United States dollar. Still inside of consolidation. For mean reversion systems and everything else like that, this is great because you know that the market's going to stay inside of this area, so you can just continue to allow your systems to be able to run. If we're talking about this from a person that just likes to manually trade and just try to figure out where positions are going to end up going, this is a headache because you can't do it because really and truthfully, you don't want to do anything because it's not a clean setup. So I'm going to stay away from this one. So it's more probably the same with Australian CAD. Yeah, same consolidation. It's showing a little bit more to the downside now, though. So with these being in R4 positions, then I'm just gonna wait. R4 position is a consolidation. The way that you end up trading is that you want to end up buying the support and selling that resistance, or selling that resistance and buying down to support. Once the market ends up hitting 3 times, what I mean by that is you got this one position right here, one, that'll be two, that'll be three. All bets are off after the fourth one, for being able to get in and just say that you believe that the market will go all the way up to the top, because now there's really no guarantee. So if you do take a sale and being able to do that, now you take profits will end up being at the halfway points, because you at least know that there's a good chance that the market will end up at least reverting back to the halfway mark of what a consolidation is to being able to make profit. So that's a strategy that I would say look at being able to do. It is very profitable once you end up finding systems that are in consolidation, especially if they end up having a lot of low volatility. But uh, we didn't catch it in time to be able to take advantage of that trade. If we would have looked at it probably about an hour ago, then yes. But right now, we're not there yet. Okay, so gonna leave that one alone. Um, if there's not any more pairs, essentially what we've been doing is just kind of waiting for what's happening with US30 and everything else. And good night. While I'm talking, it literally already took the move. There it is, right there. Market end up falling. If you end up catching it, then great. I think I'm a little bit too late out for this one. I missed the move. I hate when I do that. Okay, take a look at US30. It continued to make the move and then it U-turned. Okay. Okay. All right. So I'm gonna end up waiting. I'm gonna allow my automation system to kind of keep on going from there. It's kind of that's frustrating. I know, rambling about other pairs and not paying attention to the one that we end up putting out the idea for. if you're in it, that's great. I think that it's going to end up going. It's going to end up completing the move. But at least you know that the market will probably not have a U-turn until it ends up getting right here. That's frustrating. Market's done pushed up. Let's say we end up looking at it at the position where we said, let's say 1845. Currently, right now is at 1755. 750. That's 100 points, just like that. Good night. Like I said, I hope that people that end up taking a look, end up taking that trade. Um, we ended up talking about this one earlier. I missed out on it. Literally just plugged in everything and just rambling off. We talked about how this rising wedge is actually showing anytime that you want to catch a rising wedge, you would like to be able to catch it at the top, but it's kind of like a roller coaster. Ends up making that first move. Here goes your wild drop for us that. Um, I think it will end up hitting 17. We can say I could say for certain 17,730. It'll probably end up getting to 17,730 before anybody starts looking at being able to kind of fire off and kind of make a U-turn. But um, that's a beautiful move. We had a beautiful mock-up, didn't finish it. Hopefully, one of my automated systems ends up catching that move. That's frustrating. Okay, so um, what I'm going to do from here is I'm going to leave this up for a second. If there's any questions or anything else like that, we end up talking about it. I believe, once again, we are going to end up being patient on a couple of the trades. I know gold is one of those trades still looking at. Australian United States dollar is a trade that we'll look at. This market is completing this overall move to 17,730. It's past that is at 17,720 right now. Finally end up retesting the overall market to the downside, and having this big push to the downside as well. So I do like what I end up seeing. Remember the take profit that I ended up suggesting was at 17,670. 17,670. It's about 30 points away at this particular point. I think that it could be hit. I'm gonna keep this up, and I'm gonna see. Let me see if we can see if this would have been a full 100% good trade. I'll stay on for a little bit. Let's see, GJ. Let's let's open up another tab. Let's take a look at it from there. Okay. From a weekly perspective. Okay, I know what's going on. All right, from a weekly perspective, the market was in a consolidation that broke out of that broke from 161. Then after that, ended up getting into this vortex zone that I end up kind of drawing up right here. What a vortex zone is right before you end up having a high volatility node that will end up showing out. So the previous consolidation zone was at 194. The expectation is that the market will continue to keep on going up bullish until it ends up getting up to 194. Currently, right now, the market seems like it's done broken out of a consolidation to the upside from a weekly candlestick perspective. We go right here. There is a breakout right there, so I would end up saying that my thought process would be get into a good buy and kind of be able to hold it for a while. Um, from a daily perspective, if we just go based off of just fibs real quick, let's see, A, B, C, D. The market has already done completed the extension at 187. We are on our second phase of that, which is right here, which will make the extension right at 194, 194.92, which is right at the start of that consolidation zone. Market has already done broken past the B, which is a good thing. Um, we already have a counter trend line break. I think we're in the middle of seeing this market kind of retest that counter trend line break. So if I'm a person that's interested in being able to make a move off of this, I'll be interested in being able to buy. Um, but I don't know if this is the start of another downside channel. If that's the case, then we get a full retest. We get a full retest of the breakout. Um, but for right now, probably gonna end up waiting. But I would like to buy. Let me go back and see if this thing hit real quick. I got close. Let's see. What was the low? Stop right there. I still think that it'll get there. Any other one that you would like to be able to talk about? I got a couple more minutes. All right. With that being said, I'm gonna go ahead and get out of here. Everybody, hope you had a good week. We ended up having a very good week when it came down to trading. Through what we ended up doing with our automation systems and everything else like that. Super proud of the team. Super proud of everybody else that ended up rocking with us when it came down to being able to take a look at or being able to trade with us. End up making between the whole shot EA, end up doing almost let's see, that's 20. End up doing 31% between all of them between the week, which was awesome. Um, we got 7% currently right now on. Let's see if I can make this bigger. Getting all these tabs to come up. Doing very well. Track record is on the real account. Just being able to just monitor it and just find the revisions. I mean, find the reversions. Um, didn't trade last month. This is the first month that we basically ended up taking a look at it over the course of the last 14 days. We've done this, so happy with it. We'll just see how everything kind of plays out, and then being able to push from there. It said US CAD. I can tell you right now, US CAD, I would not be interested in taking a trade just because of how oil is. Oil is in the middle of consolidation. United States dollar is kind of in the middle of just not necessarily making a move. I don't think there'll be a move to be able to take. We're talking about this being able to take a trade on Friday. I don't think there'll be nothing there. With that being said, once again, everybody, y'all end up having a good weekend. Make sure that you end up planning your trade your plan. We'll see each and every one of y'all on Monday's showing. Take it easy.